Welcome to Intelligent Human Leadership, leading yourself and your team. Do you ever find yourself grappling with a lack of confidence in your team? Or battling the relentless waves of concern and fear? Are the pressures to meet client expectations and the burden of missed opportunities weighing you down? On this podcast, you'll discover the strategies and insights that will reignite your team's morale and help you find the harmony and knowledge you seek to propel your business forward. Here, we explore innovative ways to reignite your creative spirit and achieve greatness, empowering you to lead with intelligence, compassion, and resilience. If you're ready to dive deep into your core of leadership challenges and be guided toward success, here's your host, founder of Steward Your Business, David Carr.
Welcome back. David Carr here with Intelligent Human Leadership. Know yourself to lead yourself. I'm so grateful you're coming back for more, and hope you were able to take in that last episode. I was talking about marriage and relationships, and I'm going to continue to go in this direction of how do we know ourselves. And recently, I was listening to the song that came out quite a few years ago called Shallow, based on a Star is Born movie that came out. And I wanted to just get you thinking about this idea as we're going into the new year. By the time you hear this, it'll be 2024. I'm wrapping this up here at the end of 2023. But, through my journey of going through self-development, both professional, personal, I realized that many times I stayed in the shallows, the shallow end of the pool, if you could think about that. If you're thinking about that as a child, that's a place to start, right? We've got to start in the shallow end. We're holding on to the edge of the pool, and it's not a bad thing. We all have to start somewhere. But as I listen to this song and the problem that I see and I faced, and I believe a lot of folks face, and as you're listening to this, I want you to consider this. Are you still in the shallows? Particularly when you're facing yourself. There's a line in this song. It talks about when I'm in good times, I'm looking for that change. I'm longing for that change. And when they're the bad times, I fear myself. And when we fear, when there's doubt, we go to the shallows, in my experience. The shallows are the areas that are oftentimes, in the best of circumstances, what I'd call a form of sedation, or, we're trying to relax, we're trying to unwind. It's that glass of wine, it's flipping on a TV show, scrolling through your phone, perhaps. It could be hopefully walking, getting some physical exercise. But sometimes it's really just kind of tuning in or tuning out, if you will. It's a way of disconnecting and not really thinking very much. Kind of our brains are switched off. And there's a time and a place for certainly some of that. What I'd call, if it's something very planned and purposeful. But unfortunately in our society, it's definitely not. For example, during the height of our pandemic times, alcohol sales were through the roof. People were stressed. Well, alcohol is legal. We can drink alcohol. It can numb us. And so buying went up. That was another thing during the pandemic. People had more money. They were at home. How do they handle the stress? Well, I can buy something. We all know that doesn't last long. And it's a form of staying in the shallows. And so I want you to consider this issue, that where are you staying in the shallow? Where are you in your life? For me, it was definitely in my marriage. I could do well at work. I was pretty successful there, and I talked about this in the last episode. but I didn't go deeper where I really, really needed to. And there's a refrain back in this place where we try to fill the void that we have with something else in our life, and these oftentimes are not helping because they are the shallow things. Are we happy in this modern world? Well, this modern world, there's so many different things. There's technology. There's things that we can get sucked into on our phones. You name it, right? There is something there for every one of us to be distracted and to stay in the shallow. How many of you? I'm sure you've seen it. The phones are made that way. The phones, meaning the social medias, the ways to capture our attention, and it's not always for our best benefit. Unfortunately, it's to grab our attention and to keep us in the shallow and not to go deep. So the question is, are you, number one, can you recognize that in yourself? Because I believe everybody has that somewhere in their life. I could be in the shallows at work because I could do certain things where it's almost I don't even think about really much. I've got it down, I understand it, and I don't go deeper than that, getting at a bigger issue or digging at the problem. Like I talked about in previous episodes, chipping away, finding that gold. I stop and I miss that amazing vein of gold because I didn't keep digging. I stayed at the surface. But I honestly believe that when you actually start to go into this life of living beyond the shallows, realizing that, as it talks about in the song, in the good times, I find myself longing for change because we know the goodness that we're at now is not the place that where our destination is. And so, again, I want you to think and consider this, where you're at right now, your peak, if you will. It could be somebody else's pit, or and where you're going to have to go is it's going to be your pit eventually because you're going to go somewhere higher and farther than you ever have been before. But oftentimes we don't know how to get there. We just know this isn't the end. When you've reached the summit to a certain point, you're like, oh my goodness, this is going to be amazing. This is going to be great. And it is, and a beautiful sight. And we see that. But then we realized, okay, I can't stay here. There's something more for me. And so we must descend. And that's part of the journey. There is a descent. There is a place to go into the darkness, into the deep, if you will. And how do you do that? How do you do that in a way that is empowering, encouraging, and not self-defeating? Unfortunately, many people go into the darkness, go into the deep, and they do not come out. Unfortunately, I know too many people personally that I've lost because of that, because people have decided they couldn't go on. And I don't want you to be that kind of a person, whether number one, yourself or finding others. If you can lead by an example, by knowing yourself, lead yourself out of the darkness, you will breathe that. You'll be able to show that light, and you'll have the light. What's so important in this is when you know that about yourself, you carry that light. The world outside is not going to be able to now hurt you or impose upon you because you know who you are, you know where you're going. You're willing to dive into the deep. That's a beautiful part of the song where it crescendos and it says, I'm off to the deep. Watch as I dive. I'll never meet the ground. Because I've committed to going and doing and living my life that way. What a way to live. Live with everything. Lay it all out. Don't leave gas in the tank. We only have so much time. Let's not linger in the shallows. I'm going to encourage you in that regard. You say, David, well, how do I get out of that? How do I get out of the shallows? I'm stuck. Well, I use a tool called the Stack. That's an amazing tool I use as part of my training program to help me understand the emotions and the stories and where do I want to go. If you want to know more about that, I'm happy to share it with you. But I want to give you at least the tools to be aware. Number one, are you even in the shallows? Hopefully you can recognize that right away in your life. Are you willing and you wanting to go deeper? Do you feel that longing change, that transformation of like, I don't want to be this person anymore. It could even be good, but you know that there is something more for you. Well, you have an advocate here and a community that you can participate in so that you're not alone in that, because we're made to be in community and fellowship and bringing each other together. Hence this podcast. It's number one, understanding who you are, and then how do I connect with others that want to learn, want to lead themselves, so that I'm not alone, and then I can sharpen myself. As it talks about in the Bible, ironing, sharpening iron. But this idea that we come together in collision in a good way, to collide, if you will, to come and to bring these ideas and thoughts. And so that's why I want you to lay bare to you as you listen to my voice and as we go through this podcast, to consider, truly, truly consider, where are you in the shallow in your life? Where are you holding on to the edge of the pool where you know in your heart of hearts you're supposed to go, you're supposed to dive, you're supposed to go deeper. You know that, and the world is waiting for you to step up and to be that man or woman. Let that sink in. Where are you being called? When you hear this podcast, it should be early 2024. We're going into an election year. We're going into a lot of challenges. It's already challenging. What are you waiting for? This is the time for you to go, as you hear my voice, encouraging you along this journey, because I have to go too. And I have been going, and I'm going to continue to go. And that's why I have this podcast, to encourage you along your journey. But we must go through, because ultimately when we crash through the surface, as it talks about in the song, when we go to the deep, when we know that we're committed and we know where we need to go, we know what we need to do, we know our purpose, we know our gifts, we know how we're supposed to serve the world can't hurt us, because at that point we know what we need to do. They can throw whatever they want to throw at us. And there's that line in there that they can't hurt us. Well, the world, that's what I consider the world, because I know I've gone that far. But I'm in the shallows. In that shallow area, I can definitely be more influenced by the world, because I'm holding on to the things of the world. I'm holding on to those things that I know and see around me. The reality is, when you go into the deep, it talks about this, and when you dive in the deep and you cannot meet that ground because it is so deep, it is so vast, that is, you're willing to go there and experience that. That is amazing. And that's what I want for everybody listening to this podcast, that they would be able to understand, know, go, do, and live that life. You are that intelligent human leader. You are leading yourself so that you can lead others, your team, your family. Be there for your wife, your husband. You are needed to serve, to lead. You need to go. I need to go. What's at stake if we don't do this? Well, we'll be numbed. We can stay in the shallow. We can stay in the place of longing for change, or worse, fear, doubt, worry, because we're not living an authentic life. And we look back years from now and we say, man, yeah, I should have, I would have, I could have. Don't wait, friends. As I reflect back in the past year, and those close to me, lost some loved ones. Life is short. Nothing is guaranteed in this life. Our breath, what we have, this present moment is what you have. As you're listening to my voice, let that take that in, and let that encourage you. But not just encourage you, I want you to be able to take action, because ultimately that's what it's about. It's about making that move. I don't want to just motivate you. And that's part of it. I want to help light a little bit of fire, inspire you, but ultimately it's you that has to take the action. And it's doing it in a way that you have a framework that's repeatable, one that you can continue to do it over and over. And I just find that we often sometimes find excuse or way to delay or get sidetracked. And so ways that you can consider this idea of, number one, identifying whether you're in the shallow or not. And I would like you to just consider something, it could be any area of our lives, and it probably is more than one, to be honest with you, in this idea in the modern world, if you will, where we're in the shallow. I talked earlier about business, where we actually have some level of success, but we actually don't want to look at some of the other areas in our life or in the business, because honestly, it's going to cause us to be uncomfortable. We have success or a certain level where we're feeling, okay, we're good. And not taking away anything from that, but realizing, where do I need to go? Because it's not if, but when the bad times are going to come, how are we going to show up? And we don't want to do it out of fear or doubt or worry, because anytime I'm in those situations, my decision-making ability, my skills of decision-making go down. Excuse me. We want to empower you in your decision making and plans. And the sooner that you can be very clear and move on what has been put on your heart and mind, linking those together, and then taking measurable action on those, will strengthen you and will give you the ability to do that time and time again. But think about this in your business. Take an inventory and account for where you're at. What are the things you're not willing to look at right now, or you're deferring on, that it's easier to stay in the shallow? I'm not saying you have to do everything in the business. Don't get me wrong here. This whole podcast is about being an intelligent human leader, so you know who you need to talk to about what, but taking the time to get clear on that and be able to express that to your team. And I would say go deep with what that looks like for them. What does that look like? Are you able to speak truth in love? Are you able to articulate clearly what your desires are, what you're longing for in your life? And if not, again, I want you to think about that, consider that. So we start always this whole podcast came out of Steward Your Business, right? It's all starting with being business owners, entrepreneurs, whether you're a director, a principal, you're leading not just yourself, but you're leading others there. Whether you're doing it well or not, that's why we're here, because we want to get better at it. But consider that, where are you in that shallow in the business? Now, maybe you've got a good routine there, and although I'll challenge you, probably not in every area of the businesses, because there's a lot of things in business. So you might have the financials down, but you don't have it in the people section. That's where I specialize in. Or you may not have it in some technical processes or systems that you need to go deeper in to support your clients or your team. So consider that. But again, perhaps that's an area that you've gotten dialed into a certain degree. But think about here, when we go to relationships, it gets a little messier. And we're often triggered by the ones we love the most. And that's where anger comes up. That's where resentment comes up. These emotional, I would call them lower vibrational feelings. Again, I call them in the shallows, if you will. There are these emotions, and there's these ways of being that are natural. They're part of our human experience, but we're trying to get you out of that as we move you to a place of gratitude, appreciation, that place where it's coming from a place of abundance and wealth and in depth, as opposed to the opposite of that. Think about that. Where are you triggered? What relationship? Somebody's saying something, showing up something, doing something. These are challenges even for me in my own life we've worked through. I have ADD, ADHD, however you want to categorize it to a degree, which my wife is not. She's very specific and measurable and follows things through. And there is conflict in there. Could we stay angry and frustrated with each other? Absolutely. And we stay in the shallow. but I hold a frame and a place for her to speak truth, to be able to come and challenge me and know that she's still loved and appreciated, and that we want to go deeper with each other. Oftentimes we have a difficulty in our world doing that with the ones we love, especially our wife, children. Think about that. Where do they trigger you to stay in the shallow? And can you realize that you're not going in the deep with them, your family? Or perhaps it's your body. Because again, we can do certain things. We can eat pretty good foods. We can get a kind of workout, but we're not going all in truly to the deep of what's necessary for us to transform ourselves, to really become the human that we need to be. We cheat on a little bit of here, a little bit of there, a little too much drinking, vaping, not working out as intensely as we know we can and need to be in order to have that change. Having that extra donut or whatever, that piece of candy. Here we're on the holidays or coming in the new year. So where are you staying in the shallow? Because honestly, food is one of those things that definitely keeps us in the shallow. It literally affects our brain. Great research out there. I love understanding about how the brain works, neuroplasticity. It was a great book I read many years ago called Brainwash, how the foods we eat, sugars, that all affects us. We get dopamine hits or certain things. It keeps us in the shallow, keeps us in that place of not allowing us to go deep. Do you meditate? Do you allow yourself quiet time to go deep, to experience yourself, to be with yourself? Or is that something where you, again, stay in the shallow? Again, it depends. People have strengths in different domains here. So while you may be doing well in one, you may not be doing well in the other. And I want you to just consider that as we're going through this conversation of, are you in the shallow or not? So we talked a little bit about business. We talked about your relationships, your marriage, your children, your loved ones in your life. It could be coworkers too, in those relationships where you have to have hard conversations, but yet you keep it at a surface level because you're not ready to dive deep into what really needs to be said. Because at bad times, you feel bad about yourself, challenged. There's fear and doubt and worry. You lack clarity. You lack the ability to make a decision. You lack the ability to actually go and do what is necessary, what is absolutely necessary to be done. One area, and just consider this too. Where are you in your spiritual walk? In your wholeness as an individual? It means different things to different people. For me, it means I have a relationship with Jesus Christ. I have a relationship as a Christian, understanding who God is in that way. Am I willing to go deeper, exploring that, understanding that? What does that mean? How does that apply to my life? Or do I just want to read something quickly, read a verse, read some kind of spiritual passage, and pat myself on the back and, okay, check that box? The reality is, we can check the boxes all day long, but that doesn't actually transform us. It doesn't get us to the deep. It keeps us in the shallow, and it gets us, a little bit. When we can move, we can swim. You can actually take your feet off the bottom in the shallow and believe you're actually swimming, and you are. You're just not in the deep vastness of the ocean, if you will, where you couldn't touch the bottom if you wanted to in the shallow. It's there. You can lift your feet up, but it's there. What we're looking for is, are you able to truly dive into the deep? Be far from the shallow, it talks about in the song. Be far from the shallow. That's what I really want to encourage you, to be that far from the shallow and all of that, in the deep blue ocean. So vast and so beautiful, because you know that you took the moves that were necessary, and it put you in this vastness and abundance, in a place where you are no longer hurt, as I talk about in the song, crash to the surface. You come up through the depths. You come to the surface. You know who you are in all areas of your life. You know how to lead yourself, in your teams, in your business, and you know how to face the deep, difficult conversations. You know how to handle when you're triggered and make a choice to move to the deep versus staying in the shallow. Think about that today. Where are you in the shallow? And will you be willing to go into the deep? Will you be willing to dive in? You should really consider that. I want that for you, but I can't want it more than you want it for yourself. And I can't solve, unfortunately, that in a podcast here. But I want to bring awareness, and I hope that you're hearing this and you're getting awareness today, and that you know that you have me, David Carr, an advocate here through Steward Your Business. And if it's something that you're feeling called to and you're hearing this today and you're saying, David, this really resonates with me, I need to know more, then reach out to me. I do a discovery call. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just an opportunity to meet with me and determine if what the tools that I use in my life, in my coaching program, in my ways with my clients can fit and work with you. It's not the only way, but it is a way that's time tested, that has been worked with thousands of men, that I have used for years, applied to myself. And so I want to bring that and share that with others. If you're listening to this today and you realize that a loved one would benefit from this conversation, and you know in your heart of hearts that they are in the shallow and they would benefit, and they know that getting into the deep would just revolutionize their life. It would get them to a place where they honestly could never imagine in such a beautiful way. And if you haven't listened to the song, I encourage you to go out and listen to it. Again, it's just called Shallow. It's sung by Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, based on the Star is Born. But as I just, again, listen to this song and thinking about how it applies to me in my journey and those that I serve, is that I don't want you to be in the shallow any longer. We're in time is short, and you're called to the deep blue ocean. You're called to be this amazing person, and not only just for yourself, but for those around you that would just be benefited and blessed over and over and over again. I love the idea or the saying that we are blessed to be a blessing. I 100% believe that, and I want to be a person that continues to embrace the blessings of life and share those, and willing to let go all in, go deep. Don't get stuck in this modern world. Don't get stuck in the void of the things of the shallows of the world that are seeking to distract us, to sedate us. But I want you to live a vitalized life, a thriving life. And you do that becoming an intelligent human leader. Appreciate you listening today. Again, please share this with others that you feel they may benefit from it. Of course, like, subscribe, all of those good things. Follow along with me on your social medias. David Carr with Steward Your Business. I'm grateful for you to listen, be a part of this journey, and to go deep with me as we head into 2024 and have many, many more episodes to come. Thank you so much for listening.